wanted the, entertainment would not.
Entertainment does not, because it's not a zoning.
Okay. That is because it's a special.
No part of some C zones near the town line. Yeah. I went through that after we talked about it. Todd called me up and reminded me that the DC didn't need to go across. I don't know how spoiled you'll be, but as long as that. What happened when I was deaf? And I started going off. Oh, thank God. Not that much now. Not too long ago, just 3-4 years. And finally adopted, year before I retired, they finally adopted a rule that said that if they're gonna open a hearing after midnight, they're gonna postpone.
Ms. LeBreau?
Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Ms. Cantor.
Here.
Ms. Casperson.
Here.
Mr. Davidoff.
Here.
Mr. Dodge.
Here.
Ms. Hall.
Here.
Ms. Kerrigan. Mr. Winograd. And Mr. Williams.
Present.
Thank you, Ms. LeBreau. I just want to start by recognizing remembering some people, actually. Since our last council meeting, we did not meet, actually, we met very early August. And then we met on the 6th of September, but it was a special meeting. We lost we always lose incredible people, but there were two people that really touched our body. And Tim Confessore, who was a lifetime resident, owner of Cricket Press, was an incredibly generous and kind man, and donated. He passed away on August 2nd. He donated so much time and help to the West Hartford Public School the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools, Safe Grad Parties, all leisure service organizations, the West Hartford Youth Soccer, and he is sorely missed, and our thoughts are with his family. And also Mike Zullo, who actually ran for the council, he passed away on August 13th. He was bigger than life, energetic and strong-willed, and donated so much time and energy to West Hartford Youth Basketball League. If any of your children played basketball, they knew Mike Zullo. He also was very involved on the Unico, and he had the largest smile and always had a joke. He also had the largest council signs I ever saw. So anyway, we just remember them, and and thinking about them. We also want to recognize the how many incredibly impacted families there are from Hurricane Harvey in Texas and Irma in Florida. It's affected many, many relatives and friends of West Hartford residents, Connecticut residents, and obviously we think about our neighbors and friends. We do have a connection for Harvey, I know, on our website, and we are going to be putting up a connection for donations to Irma. So if you are looking for credible places to donate, you can be linked from our website on those sources. I also need to suspend the rules to present a couple of proclamations.
Madam Mayor, I move we suspend the rules for the purpose of presenting proclamations.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. And I don't know if anybody from Marcus Stevens, the SWAT room, okay, if you want to come up, and we'll... Good, how are you? Good. And so I just wanted to, I'm going to have you say a couple words. I'll present the proclamation. Do you want to say a few words before, then we'll put it in context about the what happened and why you...
Sorry, it's the first time I've ever done this. I do a lot of volunteer work with CCMC, Children's Medical Hospital, and through a mutual friend of mine, his brother was dying of cancer. Wanted nothing more than to be a police officer. More than anything in the world. That's all he talked about. Excuse me. Growing up in the Hartford area, didn't have a chance to really do much or do community activities with the police department or any of their services. So with the help of Sergeant Detective Anderley, we actually picked him up at my house in their SWAT vehicle, and then they brought him to the PD, made him honorary police officer for the day. As he put it, the greatest day of his life, which was awesome. For me, I wasn't really satisfied with what happened. He passed away a couple months after. Wanted to do something just to keep his name going, and I know the family really appreciates it. So, with the help of Sergeant Anderley, we were able to get the SWAT team to name the room that they meet at and get ready for operations after Marcus. So, definitely really appreciate it.
Thank you. So the formality of this is, whereas the health and vitality of a community is reflected in the participation of its citizens in those activities that further the strength of the town, and whereas Marcus Stevens was born on October 30th, 1999, and whereas it was Marcus Stevens' lifelong dream to become a police officer, and whereas Marcus Stevens was picked up by the West Hartford Police Department SWAT team vehicle, driven to headquarters and given a complete tour of the police department, and whereas Marcus Stevens was named as honorary West Hartford Police Officer officer on March 13th, 2012 by Police Chief Tracy Gove. And whereas Marcus Stevens passed from his life eternal on May 2nd, 2012 after a courageous battle with cancer. Whereas the West Hartford Police Department SWAT room will be named in honor of Marcus Stevens, so his dream and his memory live on. Now therefore be it proclaimed that on behalf of the Town Council and the residents of West Hartford, I, Mayor Sherry G. Cantor, do hereby recognize and celebrate the SWAT room dedication that will take place on Friday, September 22nd at 2017. So thank you so much. And we're going to keep this for the presentation at the, okay?
And if
All right.
anyone's available to go, please, definitely, we'd love to have you.
I think it's at 2 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock, sorry about that. 12 o'clock on the 22nd, sorry. Does that say that? No. And we have one more. It's the memory of migration. Is there anybody here that, I was asked to read this by the Director of Library Services, Martha Church, just so people know what's going on. This is, whereas the health and vitality of a community is reflected in the participation of its citizens in those activities that further the strength of the town, and whereas Memories of Migration builds community connections and cultural heritage collections by documenting the stories of migration in America, and whereas Memories of Migration collects oral histories in order to record and preserve the lives, experiences, and memories of community members in their own words and preserve them for future generations, and whereas Memories of Migration teaches young adults 21st century digital literacy and technical skills, and whereas Memories of Migration positions the library as a hub for intergenerational and intercultural dialogue, and whereas Memories of Migration promotes meaningful collaborations between the West Hartford libraries and local organizations, and whereas Memories of Migration encourages recent immigrants to become engaged members of our community and to enhance their sense of belonging in their new home. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that on behalf of the Town Council and the residents of West Hartford, I, Mayor Sherry G. Cantor, do recognize Monday, September 18th, 2017, as Memories of Migration Day in West Hartford in celebration of National Welcoming Week 2017. So that is in the evening on Monday, and if anyone's available, it will be at the library, at the Faxon Library. Pretty sure it's Faxon. I think it's in my announcements too. All right, number 4, Mr. David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of the minutes of the Town Council meeting of July 11th, 2017 and August 1st, 2017.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, public forum. We have one person that signed up. We have, you can speak as to anything that's not the subject of a public hearing, and there are a few items on our agenda, resolutions that are not. So item number 10 is the subject of a public hearing. So the person that signed up, Anna Bolitz, that is the subject of a public hearing. We're going to set those times and dates in a little bit. So we don't have public comment on that right now, okay? Is there anybody else that would like to speak to any other item that's not the subject of a public hearing? Okay, thank you. Number 6, Mr. David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we place items 22 through 25 on the consent calendar.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Wait a second, 26? Because 26 is consent calendar. I think it's 22 through 25.
That's what I said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think you said 26. I apologize. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, Mr. David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we set for public hearing on October 24th at 7 p.m. in the Legislative Chamber and refer to TPZ, an application on behalf of Udolf Mayflower 2 LLC and Udolf Mayflower LLC requesting a change of the underlying zone for 14 Mayflower Street from RM3 Multifamily Residence District to RP Residence Parking District.
You want to set it for, did you say it right? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 9.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move we set for public hearing on October 24th at 7:45 in the Legislative Chamber and refer to TPZ and CROG, an ordinance establishing definitions for and permitting of experiential recreation and restaurant facilities.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, Mr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move we set for public hearing on October 24th at 7:20 p.m. in the Legislative Chamber and refer to TPZ, an ordinance amending certain standards and creating new incentive-based zoning standards applicable in the Central Business BC Zone.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. And number 11, Mr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we set for public hearing on October 10th at 7:25 PM in the Legislative Chamber and refer to TPZ, an ordinance requiring established entertainment licenses for indoor recreation or amusement facilities.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. But these are a little bit unusual.
The last one does not get referred to TP&Z. Number 11.
I would just say it on our little cheat sheet.
Okay.
So we will not refer to TPZ. So do we need to remove that?
Nope.
Okay. We have a little bit of an administrative issue and some changes to this as well. So please, Anna, if you want to come and speak, take note of this. We have public hearings that are set for October 10th and October 24th will all be continued until November 14th. The town manager actually will be at a conference out of town on the 24th, and the ordinance requires the public hearing regarding the entertainment license be set prior, but they need to be discussed, or we want to discuss them together. Our staff does. So we will be combining the ordinances regarding the experiential and recreational and the entertainment licenses together. So both will have public hearings on November 14th. So all of those 9, 10, and 11 will be continued, one on the 10th and two on the 24th to the 14th, November 14th. Okay? All right, very good. Number 12, Mr. Davidoff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move we adopt a resolution to carry forward and appropriate funds awarded the town of West Hartford under the Federal Highway Safety Program for the purpose of underage drinking education and enforcement.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Hart, would you like to give us a little summary?
I would be happy to, Mayor. So if you could turn to the item in your packet here, which would be in the binder, item number 12. You'll see on the cover page we've got a new memorandum format for you. It's an agenda item summary. It's a practice we're going to utilize for all council action items, and we'll utilize it occasionally at the committee level as well. But the memo is designed to provide you with a brief background on a particular item, whether there's any operational impact, any financial impact, whether legal review is required, the schedule, if it's a project, staff's recommendation, and list any attachments. So for this item, we've been awarded grant funding under the DOT's Federal Underage Drinking Education and Enforcement Initiative. This is a very popular program statewide. The grant funding does span 2 fiscal years. So it was the previous fiscal year and going into to this fiscal year. So we are looking for authorization to carry over the balance we had remaining at the end of 17 for use in the current fiscal year. And our department utilizes the funds for a variety of purposes here, particularly alcohol education, that curriculum in our schools. We also utilize it to assign an officer at school events and to increase directed patrol activities. The financial impact here, it would certainly have an impact on the current year budget. It would be helpful. It would increase intergovernmental revenue by a little over $11,000 that we could utilize for the purposes that I listed above. The grant does require a match of 25%, which we could cover within existing appropriations. Corporation Counsel has reviewed and approved the form of the resolution, which is attached. And we're respectfully recommending Council's approval of the proposed resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Any questions for Council? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, Mr. Davidoff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the adoption of a resolution authorizing suspense of taxes owed on the 2013 grand list for motor vehicles and personal property.
Second. I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. Hart, why don't you explain this?
Yes, and this is something that Connecticut municipalities do every single year, and the town of West Hartford certainly does as well. And we reviewed this item with our Finance and Budget Committee meeting earlier a couple weeks back. So on an annual basis, the tax collector identifies, it's primarily motor vehicle taxes as well as supplemental motor vehicle taxes and certain personal property taxes that are 3 years delinquent. And the collector prepares a list of that account. The report is available within the finance office upon request. Upon your approval, and we're requesting your approval of this item, these taxes would be moved to the suspense tax book. However, something I do want to emphasize, just because they're moved to the suspense list does not mean that we're not going to continue our efforts to collect on them. We do, and every year we make progress in collecting on items that are on the suspense list. The financial impact here, if you were to approve this resolution, it would result in a transfer of approximately $248,000 to the suspense tax book. And Corporation Counsel has reviewed and approved the form of the resolution, which is attached.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Any questions on this item? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, Mr. Veba.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of a resolution to appropriate unexpended fund in the West Hartford Library Fund.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Hart, to you.
And moving on in the packet to item number 14. So the library fund is separate from the general fund. As you may know, it's a special revenue fund. It's used to account for grants that the library receives as well as the operation of their copiers. So annually, on an annual basis, the fund balance is appropriated at the recommendation of the library director, which is what we have here. The funds would be utilized to purchase computers, furniture, and equipment for our libraries. Any unused funds would roll into fund balance and can be utilized in future years. The financial impact here, if it's approved by the council, we would be appropriating a little less than $64,000 for this purpose. It would be utilized again for the purchase of various items related to library operations. And we would plan to expend these funds in the current fiscal year.
Thank you. Any questions for the town manager? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 15, Mr. David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of resolution setting town council meeting dates for November 21st, 2017 and December 12th, 2017.
Motion's made and seconded. I can handle this one. We actually move the date because of election, the election, and so we will move the November date till the 21st, and we only do one date in December, so that's December 12th. Any questions? All right. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 16, Mr. Aveda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2017-2018 budget of the Capital Projects Fund by $1,734,585 for Park Road and State Route 501 capacity, safety, and operational improvements.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Hart.
Thank you, Mayor. Turning to item number 16 in the packet, and Mr. McGovern, from our Director of Community Development, is also here this evening and can assist with any questions you might have on this item as well as the next one. So as you'll recall, the town's entered into an agreement with the state for improvements at Park Road at I-84. This is actually an exciting project for the town, and it's very rare that the state would enter into such an agreement with the municipality, and I think it's a true testament to the talent of our staff. So we initiated the procurement process, and the lowest bid did come in higher than our original estimate, approximately $1.7 million higher. So because of that, we need to amend our agreement with the state. The state is willing to increase its grant award by a little under $1.5 million, and this would increase the town's match in an amount of approximately $237,000. We could utilize our existing funds within the street resurfacing project to cover our additional match, and that's our recommendation here, that you approve this transfer. Again, Corporation Counsel has reviewed and approved the form of the resolution, and we're respectfully requesting your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Any questions? Mrs. Hall?
So just to clarify, if the town hadn't taken this on itself and the state was responsible for doing this reconstruction, would we be responsible for any of this money?
Well, it would probably be, I would imagine
236,000.
it would be a state-only project, but I don't know what, I imagine this, also that the scope would be less than what's planned. Mr. McGovern, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add to my response?
Good evening, Mark McGovern, Director of Community Development. I just add that, I just remind the council, it's what's called a 80-10-10 project, 80% from the state, 80% from the federal government through the state, 10% from the state, 10% from the town. So we've been dealing with moving figures based on the costs associated with the project as well as the with the bid. But I think the town manager accurately described the process, and we were pleased that the amount wasn't anything more than what could already be handled within current appropriations of the capital budget.
Right, but I guess my question is just, and I have great faith in our group, but would it be different if the state was doing this themselves? Would we be responsible for this $236,000, or would the state be doing all of this?
Yeah, well, I don't know if there would be a project if it was just the state doing it, because I don't know if the state would have done this project. I mean, it was really at our prompting that we were able to convince them that this was a worthy project, and then everyone agreed that the approach to have the town design it and manage it was the best course to take. So if it was a state-only project, if we had a participation, we would still be going through the need to increase our funding to it. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Matt?
Mr. Hart?
Well, just to add to Mr. McGovern's comments, if it were a state-only project, I don't believe there would be a local match. However, the scope of the project would arguably be significantly less and may not have occurred at all, without the urging of the town.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. This was initiated by the town to receive federal funds for a project that was strongly needed for safety reasons. And the senators actually came out to visit, and we worked with our delegation, federal delegation, to put this on for federal funding. So it was town initiated in the fact that the federal government was paying 80 and then the state was putting in 10, and we were at 10. Everybody felt that that was a very reasonable request from the town. So,
And the cost of I would just add, the cost of the grant isn't just for construction, it's gone towards the design. So we've been able to reimburse our staff salaries related to this design to the grant.
Thank you. And I don't mean to sound critical. This has been developing over a number of years, and sometimes I feel like we just get here and we know all the details, but to the casual observer hearing, oh, we're adding another $236,000, I just wanted to explore it a little more. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. McGovern. Thank you, Ms. Hall. Thank you, Mr. Hart. Your mic is on, in case you just, and so is yours, Mr. Tabo. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 17, Mr. Tabo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of a resolution authorizing the town manager to execute an amendment to the agreement between the state of Connecticut and the town of West Hartford for the design of the multi-use Trout Brook Trail Phase 5, Farmington Avenue to Fern Street.
Thank you. Motion has been made a second, but first we're going to flip it to Mr. Hart for explanation.
Thank you, Mayor. Turning to item number 17, this is another agreement we have in place with the state, different agency. This is with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection for the construction of Phase 5 of our Trout Brook Trail, which is Fern Street to Farmington Avenue. We received various comments from DEEP, which is extending the timeline somewhat for the design. Some of their comments include capacity impacts to the flood control system due to regrading and the need to install fencing to accommodate the trail. In addition, DEEP is looking for a maintenance agreement from the town to maintain the flood control system along Trout Brook, Piper Brook, and the south branch of the Park River to make sure that they're unobstructed. And this agreement is required by DEEP since they recently completed a project reestablishing the flood control capacity through tree clearing and dredging, which you will recall. The existing contract between the town and DEEP expires on February 17th of next year. The financial impact related to this wouldn't be a direct fiscal impact on the operating budget for the current fiscal year. In accordance with the contract, the state would contribute $224,000 towards the construction of the trail. The town would be responsible for the balance, estimated at $106,000. We have those funds available in our pedestrian and bicycle management capital project. Construction of the trail is anticipated to start in spring of next year and be completed by the fall of 18. So we're recommending and respectfully requesting council approval of the attached resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. As far as maintenance goes, is this, we all were a little, this was a very traumatic event when the trees were cut down and the dredging happened, and it was because of lack of maintenance. And I remember a discussion saying that we didn't have the tools to do the maintenance of this kind of a facility, and so I'm wondering if there was discussion on this and if we've, on the maintenance component of it.
A good question. I would need to defer to staff on that. Mr. McGovern, are you in a position to answer? Thank you.
So, Mark McGovern, we're still working with DEEP. We haven't made a whole lot of progress on the maintenance agreement. The maintenance agreement involves a couple of things: the maintenance of the stream itself, but also the banks. Traditionally or historically, the DPW has done some of that. The state has done some of that. The state has typically done the dredging in the brook. Those are things we still need to work out. We've had some back and forth just lately with DEEP. It's been difficult to be able to have them pay attention to it and make progress on this agreement that's necessary. It was really the design meetings that really prompted our saying we really need to get this maintenance agreement done. So when we look at the extension, the likelihood is that the extra time needed is really to be able to get that maintenance agreement done before we can start construction. It's a one-year construction project. If we get that done, we'll start it. If we get it done over the winter, the agreement, we'll be able to start and finish it in 2018. But the term is extended beyond that in the event that we aren't able to achieve that.
Thank you. So whether we approve the construction of the trail or not, there's going to be maintenance that's going to be required in the brook so this is...
The maintenance agreement has to occur regardless of the trail project, right. But DEEP is using it as a prerequisite for the trail project too, so.
Okay, that was, all right. There's the kicker. All right. Thank you, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you. And I recall those conversations too. My recollection is that when the project took place a number of years ago, that the maintenance had been deferred in that area for a long time. And then there was a question about who was responsible to actually do the maintenance. The town staff went back and did a review to find out, I think we concluded that it wasn't our responsibility. DEEP produced a document that was not signed and it was incomplete in terms of what needed to be done. And so there was a disagreement about, who had the right or the obligation to do it. And then the issue of cost came up. Like if we were responsible to do it, how much would it cost and what type of resources would be required to actually maintain that space and to what level would we have to maintain it? So what I'm hearing is with respect to the trail, DEEP is saying, basically you don't get the trail if you don't take on the maintenance. And so they're leading with the maintenance agreement to get us to agree to that, and then this would be the next phase?
They weren't saying that we had to do anything in particular in the agreement in order to move forward with the trail. They're just saying we need to work on the agreement itself and have that in place. So we haven't had any substantive conversations with them about who's going to do what as yet. You're correct. Your recollection is right in that there were maintenance agreements in place south of Park Road, but not north of Park Road. So North of Park Road is the unchannelized section, south is the channelized section. So there was some back and forth research needed, and we did have to show them that it had never been executed. Now we need to pick up where we left off after their maintenance project. But they haven't said to us, you need to do the following if you want to be funded for the trail. That has not happened.
Okay. So, I mean, do we have a choice whether to take on this maintenance, or is this something we're obligated to do?
Well, I think we're obligated to have the floodway maintained, and it's still to be determined who's going to take on responsibility for different aspects of that.
Okay. All right. And have there been any, do we have any idea of what the cost or the impact of the maintenance would be, financially and on town staff as well?
I don't. That would be a question we'd have to refer to John Phillips in Public Works. It would be his teams that would do the vegetation maintenance.
Okay. And so I assume that as part of negotiating the maintenance agreement, John will be consulted and.
John
that's
is,
okay with that?
absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And that can be updated through community planning, and would we need to vote on the maintenance agreement as a council, or do you know?
I would imagine if it's a separate agreement with the state, that might require council action.
I'm almost certain you would have to vote. Just by way of background, because it's really two completely different issues that are getting merged by deep. The Trout Brook project, the channelization project that was done in the 70s and early 80s, was done in two phases. The first phase was downstream, the second phase was upstream. The dividing line is essentially Farmington Avenue. And the first phase, the downstream phase, when the project ended, the property that had been taken by the state was basically conveyed back to the town subject to a maintenance requirement. By the time the second phase rolled around, the Attorney General, if I follow this correctly, the Attorney General had opined that that wasn't allowed. That arrangement. And we had to have a completely new system of, yes, it's going to stay state property, but the town's going to agree to maintain it. The agreement was in draft form, went back and forth between my predecessor and Deep, and was in Deep's hands when my predecessor left the office in 1986. And no one ever heard anything again. And that's as far as we can tell what happened. So this is something which, when that whole project began, there was some kind of at least agreement in principle that the town would take maintenance responsibility in some way. But then I think the implication was also our understanding we were going to get that property back. And the AG's office pulled that rug out from under us, and nothing ever followed through. So whatever we see now is going to be very different from anything we even agreed upon in principle. And I think the short answer is yes, you'd have to vote on it.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Hall?
So I guess my question is, why would we vote on this resolution until we have some of the answers to those questions on who's responsible for the maintenance and the cost of the maintenance?
I think we're coming up on a deadline related to the current contract that we need to extend.
We know the state is very concerned about deadlines. Is there a possibility of asking for an extension? Because I feel like do we know what we're getting into financially?
Yes, Mr. Hart.
So, Mr. McGovern, this agreement expires in February of next year,
Yes.
as I understand it. So I would imagine we would have time to continue this as old business and get answers to these various questions.
I believe we could.
So if that's the council's
Yeah,
preference, you could do that.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I have a few more answers. Okay, so, want to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to continue this till we have a chance to get further information.
Want a second? Second. What- All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Now we are on to reports from the town manager. Thank you, Mr. McGovern.
Thank you, Mayor. I've distributed copies of my report this evening. It's somewhat lengthy because it's been a little while since we last held a regular meeting. I promise, though, I'm not going to read it verbatim. So starting off with council business, I will hit all of these items. Council subcommittees, due to various conflicts that folks have, we've had to reschedule a few of our subcommittee meetings. Community Planning and Physical Services Committee will now meet at 8 a.m. on September 20th. Our main agenda item will be talking about parking rates in the center. The Finance and Budget Committee is scheduled for 8 a.m. on September 25th. The main agenda item will be the current year budget and where we are with the state. We're looking to reschedule the Public Safety Committee. We really think it's important to have the fire chief there, and he has a FEMA deployment this month. We're looking to schedule it for the morning of September 27th or the morning of September 28th. I believe Ms. Stevenson polled committee members today. We want to continue our discussion on various aspects of the paramedic program. That would include an updated financial analysis, a grant that we've been awarded and we need to make a decision on for a transport vehicle, and the write-off policy for billing purposes. So all of those items are under discussion. In addition, I'd like to schedule one more meeting for the Administration and Technology Committee, as well as the Human Services Committee, prior to the end of your current term. So please watch your email for proposed dates for those two committees. Moving on to talk about the budget for the current year. I think as everyone knows, and we've been sending you updates via email, the General Assembly continues to work on adopting a state budget for the current year. This past Friday, the governor issued what he labeled as a compromise budget, and that would have cut state aid. It would have been less of a cut to West Hartford, especially compared to his executive order number 2, and scale back his proposed contribution to the Teachers Retirement Board, the TRB, for a net loss of approximately $10.6 million to the town. And that compares to a net reduction of approximately $20 million under executive order number 2. However, it's unclear that the governor's most recent proposal, whether or not it has significant support at the General Assembly. We've heard that it probably does not. While all this has been happening, the Director of Finance and I, we've met with each of the town's directors to review 5% and 10% reduction scenarios on expenditures. October 1st is a very significant date, as you may know. That's when the town would receive its first quarterly payment for the education cost sharing grant. That is the most significant grant we receive. The same holds true for virtually every town in the state. So if we do not see a state budget within the next few weeks, the Director of Finance and I will present you through the Finance and Budget Committee to start with a list of options to adjust to decrease current year spending. And we'll also likely recommend the strategic use of reserves. We can also discuss the status of motor vehicle tax bills at that time. You know, we have yet to issue those bills with the thinking that the mill rate might be increased from 32 to 37 mills. So we'll continue to keep you apprised of what's happening at the state level. But if nothing occurs, within the near future, we're going to have a list of recommendations for you, and some of them will be significant and will require due thought and consideration, and I'm sure you'll give that to those items. Moving on, as you may recall, during the recruitment process, I talked about my interest in serving on the board of my professional organization. That's the International City and County Management Association. I've now been elected by my colleagues, and I'll begin a 3-year term It will start at our annual conference, which is scheduled for October 21st, runs through the 25th. I'll be one of 3 representatives for the Northeast region. That includes New England and the Middle Atlantic states, and one of 21 directors representing about 12,000 people worldwide. The commitment does involve some travel. Fortunately, ICMA covers the bulk of that, and we'll be very careful to manage the budget here. So I'm very honored by the opportunity to serve Connecticut because we're a small state. We haven't had a representative since the early 2000s. Phil Schenk, who was then the manager in Avon, now the manager in Bloomfield, last had that honor. And I think the experience will certainly benefit me and strengthen my skill set, which will benefit the town as well. But I will be away during your second meeting in October, as the mayor reported early on. And I think it's vitally important that I'm in attendance at the public hearings concerning the incentive zoning as well as the experiential zoning ordinances, which is why I requested that the mayor, that we open the public hearing on October 24th, but really get into the meat of the discussion on November 14th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a big honor. Thank you. A few things related to the MDC, a hot topic here in the Capital Region I've discovered. So yesterday, the Director of Finance and I, we attended a meeting of the MDC's Public Works Committee. You know, they have standing committees like we do here. The main agenda item concerned a change, to the sewer use charge for certain municipal buildings. And according to their analysis, and this was an analysis they conducted on the current year, our ad valorem payment would decrease as a result of this change. So that's something we can hopefully look forward to in the future. Mr. Privatera and I were also tracking the progress of the sewer use charge study that MDC has underway. The request for qualification should be released within a few weeks. Submissions will be due later in the fall. The consultant will have about 4 to 6 months to complete that work. In addition, we're monitoring Moody's recent downgrade of the MDC's bond rating. It certainly could have an impact. We expect it will have a negative impact. We're not sure of the magnitude on the ad valorem tax to the member communities. We are attending their annual budget presentation on September 21st, and we're going to seek some clarification as to the magnitude of this change, how it might impact us. The MDC, for folks who don't know, and this was news to me, their fiscal year runs on a calendar year basis. It's different from the state's uniform fiscal year of July 1 through June 30th. So those are a number of issues related to the MDC. Moving on to departmental reports, we had an agenda item earlier related to Park Road I-84 project. We're going to hold a public information meeting on Monday, September 18th at 7 p.m. at Town Hall. This has been posted on our website. It should be informative for residents. We've dedicated a portion of our website to this project and would encourage folks to follow along there. Moving on to page 3, and you can review the rest of the report at your leisure. Social services, I want to commend our staff and the generosity of our community. The annual backpack distribution program was very successful. Our social services staff, it allows us to distribute backpacks and gift cards. For school supplies, last year we were able to serve 651 students. This year we were able to serve 688. And we still have supplies available for folks in need. Moving on to the health district, believe it or not, flu season is here or will be here soon. And our regional health district is holding its annual flu immunization clinics. They'll be held both in West Hartford and in Bloomfield. The West Hartford clinics will be held on Wednesday, October 18th from 12 to 2 p.m. at Town Hall, and on Wednesday, the 25th, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at our Elmwood Community Center. Next item, this coming Friday, Leisure Services and Westmore Park will hold its annual and, what I understand, very popular Feast on the Farm event, and that will be held from 6 to 9 p.m. at the farm, and the proceeds from the event will assist in funding the restoration of the historic barn. It's a BYOB dinner. There'll be hors d'oeuvres, a 4-course meal. I understand the chef is quite talented. Tickets are $100 per person. They're available at the park or at Leisure Services here at Town Hall. Moving on to page 4, Town Clerk's Office wanted to credit Ms. LeBreau and the office. We can now accept credit and debit card payments for a whole variety of services at the Town Clerk's Office. You know, that's a great convenience for our residents and taxpayers. 3 other items under Public Works that I think historically are of interest to the community. First is a couple free residential electronics recycling collection events that will take place on Thursdays and Saturdays this month in Town Hall, and you see the dates listed. Thursday, 4 to 7 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 to 12 noon. The MDC will conduct its annual hazardous waste collection at our Public Works facility on Brixton Street, and that will be held Saturday, September 16th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And folks who have a question about what will be collected, we're encouraging them to check out the MDC website. Fall leaf collection will be occurring next month. It's a 10-week collection. It will begin during the week of October 23rd and continue through December 29th. Brief report from the police, and I know council's been paying attention to this. We have had quite a rash of car burglaries in town since June. And the primary reason is that, unfortunately, folks are leaving cars unlocked, and in many cases, with the keys in the vehicle. So please, 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 do not do that. You know, if you can follow those primary steps, we should be able to improve this in a significant way. And then last, turning on to page 5, and the mayor has the remaining items of the report. You know, I hear all the time what's cool about local government. So our Connecticut Conference of Municipalities has an awards program for middle school and high school students. It's an opportunity for them to talk about what they think is neat and happening in their local government and in their town. CCM will choose 2 winning entries and provide a $500 scholarship. The deadline for entries is on October 27th, and we have information on our website regarding this program. That completes my report, Mayor. I know it was somewhat, I'm sorry, I do have a few additional items. I apologize. I have a few additional items that I didn't write up. Like all of you, I was able to attend the Delamar Hotel opening earlier tonight. Great success. What an addition to the town. I want to thank Mr. Mallory and the members of his team for their great work. Town staff was very involved in the project, as you know. In particular, my predecessor, Mr. Van Winkle, and want to certainly acknowledge their efforts. We will need an executive session this evening to talk about the Yukon project, and we should invite Mr. McGovern, Mr. Allaire, and me to that session. And then last but not least, I want to extend my thanks to the staff, the council, and the members of the community. My continued introduction to the organization and to the town has been great. Folks have been very positive and very helpful, and I greatly appreciate it. So now I will pause, Mayor, and take any questions council members may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Members, anybody from the council that would like to ask a question? No, okay. All right, very good. Are your kids going to enter the local government contest?
I'm working on it.
All right, I think that's unfair. I think you should be disqualified. Anyway, all right. We have, so that Memories of Migration is Monday night, September 18th at 6:30 at Baxton Library, just to clarify that, if anybody wants to go. So these announcements, the Park Road Association invites West Hartford community to sign up now for the 19th Annual Park Road Parade on Saturday, October 7th. This zany and wildly popular parade draws over 7,000 people. So you can, if you want to be a part of it, go to www.parkroadct.com for the sign up. Volunteers are also needed, and please contact rsoov@comcast.net. That's Rita Sovajan. I don't know. Sovajan. The Gold Farb Challenge, the organizers of Jonathan's Dream Reimagined, I actually went to the community build this weekend, and it is remarkable. They actually said that if the volunteers' time was quantified as just over the weekend would have been $50,000. So the Goldfarb family, who is incredibly generous at all times, has offered a match up to $25,000. So every donation is appreciated. The Barzak family built this in 1996 as the first boundless playground in memory of their beautiful son who passed away at a very young age, and it completely handicap accessible, not only physical handicaps, but also all different kinds of kids with all abilities. So all abilities, active and moving, are able to play in this space. If you are interested in sponsoring any playground equipment with the match or play area, contact Ronit at shokids@hotmail.com or 860-558-5313. The grand reopening of Jonathan Street is scheduled for Sunday, October 22nd. Time is to be announced. This morning at the Family Bridge Center Awards, the Build No Fences Awards, our own superintendent of schools received the Build No Fences Award. And it was remarkable, the comments that were shared by not only staff, but so many people that he touched. And it was really an honor to be there and an honor to hear the reflections about him. And we're proud of what he does. I'm doing a mini State of the Town address. It's really an update. It's not really a formal State of the Town, but it's at the West Hartford Senior Center, so I will speak loudly. The presentation is both engaging and informative and will be followed by a question and answer session and a kosher luncheon. Pre-registration is required. 860-561-7583 to register at the West Hartford Senior Center. Musical comedy Avenue Q, September 13th to October 8th. Plaza Osan Park is opening its 9th season with this production. It was a winner of the Tony Triple Crown, Best Musical, Best Score, and Best Book. Puppet-filled comedy tells the timeless story. And don't bring a 9-year-old. We made the mistake of doing that. The box office number is 860-523-5900 or visit www.playhouseonpark.org. Feast on the Farm has already been discussed. Elizabeth Park Fun Run is on September 16th, 8:30 to 10 a.m. Join Pond House owner Luis Lista in raising money for Community Partners in Action Culinary Training Program. And this is a Rose Garden Loop. To register, go to www.pondhousecafe.com. And it's $25 for individuals or $40 for a family. Mum fundraiser for the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools, September 16th and 17th. Atria Hamilton Heights is proud to be a partner with the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools for their annual Mum Sale on Saturdays and Sunday, 16th, 17th, 8 to 4. Cost is $6.50 per plant, and all proceeds benefit the Foundation. And actually, Mr. Dodge is now our liaison to the Foundation. I was on it for years, or I served that role. And this is a great fundraiser, and they are hardy plants, and they are big, and that's quite a deal. So I would recommend you buying them. Senior Housing Fair is Thursday, September 21st at the Elmwood Senior Center from 9:30 to 12:30. In the auditorium, 20 different housing options are featured in this one-stop shopping event. You can contact Gilda Ayaya at gilda@westhartfordct.gov. And a couple more. 50th anniversary of the West Hartford Garden Club on September 24th, 1 o'clock at the Noel Webster House on West Hartford Historical Society celebration. This is the anniversary of them becoming the sole caretaker of a museum's reproduction colonial garden. Registration is not required. A brief ceremony will be at 1 p.m., followed by brief refreshments. And the 31st Annual Chamber of Commerce Golf Tournament is September 25th at Tumblebrook Country Club. It begins at 9:30 with a continental breakfast. Lunch will be on the course with lots of food and beverage choices. And this is their primary fundraiser. So, any more announcements from the council? Okay. Reports from Corporation Council.
I have no formal report. We do need a brief executive session, as the town manager has mentioned.
Thank you, Mr. Allaire. Any questions for Mr. Allaire? Okay. Number 21, Mr. Davidoff, we have an appointment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move we appoint Matthew W. Hart to the West Hartford Bloomfield Health District.
We can do them all.
Okay, do them all together, okay. Also appoint James Capella as an alternate member to the Clean Energy Commission for a term ending 12/31/2022, and appoint Jonathan Merritt to the Substance Abuse Prevention Commission for a term ending 20/31/2020.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We have number 26, Mr. Davidoff.
I move the adoption of the consent calendar.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 27, Mr. Davidoff. Number 27.
Okay. Item number 27, I move we receive the notice of the town planner's intention to approve pursuant to section 17744C9G, a request on behalf of Seritage SRC Finance LLC for revisions to the approved Special Development District Plan, Special Development District Number 6, located at 1445 New Britain Avenue. The request is for a minor modification to a portion of the new sidewalk to be constructed along the New Britain Avenue street frontage and is being required by the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation as part of their driveway encroachment permit.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 28, Mr. Davidoff.
I move we receive notice of the town planner's intention to approve pursuant to section 17744C9D, a request from ProTech Energy Solutions LLC on behalf of the Home Depot for revisions to the approved Special Development District Plan, Special Development District Number 94, located at 503 New Park Avenue. The request is for the installation of a roof-mounted solar array on top of the existing Home Depot building, which will be concealed from variety by the parapet walls on the front and sides of the building.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. 29, Mr. Davidoff.
I move we receive the notice of the town planner's intention to approve pursuant to section 17744C, 9B, and C, to a request on behalf of the Delamar West Hartford LLC for revisions to the approved Special Development District Plan, Special Development 140, located at 1 Memorial Road. The request is for minor adjustments to exterior hardscape and landscape elements, primarily related to the restaurant outdoor dining area, and for minor adjustments to the required parking on the lower easternmost parking area.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 30, Mr. Davidoff.
I move we receive from Chris Syrek, 8/16/2017, his resignation from the Metropolitan District Commission.
Motion's been made and seconded. Do you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you. Just want to thank him very much for his service and congratulate him on his appointment to the President's administration representing state and local veterans groups. So very happy to have Chris in that position.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 31, Mr. Davidoff.
I move we receive a resignation from Paula Stabnick, 8/30/2017, resigning as Town Council zoning alternate.
I also would like to thank Paula for her service, and that's it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. No petitions. You do have an executive, we do have an executive session, so we will not adjourn the meeting until after the executive session. Thank you very much.
I think we need to move to go into.
Oh, sorry, you're right. All those in favor? Oh, I make a motion. You
Okay.
second. I make a motion that we go into executive session.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, and we will come back to adjourn.